Hello everybody and welcome to Lunar Tales. Ooh, I'm Moth,
And I am Lilac.
and this is a podcast where we just go through and reread creepypastas, basically.
Yippee.
Yeah. So this isn't the same as, like, other ones that read, like, horror stories and like Creepcast, yeah. Because Creepcast goes on Reddit, and they mostly get their stuff from No Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But they have read a few creepypastas, obviously. But considering we both kind of grew up in that era where creepypastas were really popular, I think that, like, it's just appropriate for a couple of people in their early 20s to be reading them and talking about them. And I also have only read a few creepypastas. I've read 1999, a lot of Lost Episode stuff, but I haven't really read many of, like, the like, I've never read Slenderman before. I know about him, and I've known about him for a very long time, but I've never read that creepypasta. And, like, Jeff the Killer I never read. I didn't even know most of what the story was about until I went and listened to someone read it. God, that story sucks. But...
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't even know if Slenderman has a original full-on, like, creepypasta, because, like, the original image came from No Sleep, and like a competition thing, and then the people who made it made Marble Hornets, which is the original thing, and I don't think we're gonna read the entirety of the transcript of Marble Hornets just to get that. There are some things in the Slenderverse of different characters, like Splendor Man, or stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a... This isn't about Slenderman, though. We'll save that for the Slenderman episode, I think, to get into all that.
Yeah.
But basically, your classic creepypastas with also some of the lesser-known ones and stuff. Because, like, well, like, some of the ones I've read are known by, like, the niche communities that really focus on the subgenre of creepypasta. I had people be like, huh? To, like, some of the ones I brought up. I'm like, you don't know about the grieving? Like...
You don't know about Spoinky Bloinky?
Right? You don't know about Skingbadingus?
You don't know about Blono?
Blono. Oh my god. Anyways, but today we are going with, I think, is kind of the main stemming of, like, the proxy shit or whatever with Zalgo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my first exposure to Zalgo was it was a Garfield comic on the Garfield, like, John subreddit, and it was just, like, it was really funny, because they gave John the hyper-realistic eyes, and then, like, took Garfield out of frame, dude. I started dying laughing. Dude, but yeah. But Zalgo is what we're gonna be reading today. I think we're gonna kind of go back and forth with who's doing a majority of the reading. I know you said your voice is kind of like, so. Anyways, let's get into this. All right. So this story. So the thing with Zalgo is there's not, like, one main story, but there's a couple that evolve him, kind of like Slenderman, where there's not a main story. There's just kind of a few different ones with them that are popular. So, the one we are going to be reading is from 2013 called He Comes.
Does he?
Written by Chris Phoenix. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Forgive the length of this message. This is my first and possibly the last wow. Do you want to be the narrator? I fucked that up so bad immediately.
I'll try. If you want to, just tap me and we can swap.
I mean, we could rock, paper, scissors.
We could just also alternate.
We could alternate paragraphs, yeah.
Alright, well, let's alternate for now.
I think... My thing is that gonna get confusing?
Alright, everyone, get ready. I speak with more of a softer tone, so be prepared that when we start getting hyper, it might up the volume, so... If
might get loud.
Yeah, so just warning.
I do have us at, like, half volume though right now, so we're good.
Okay. Forgive the length of this message. This is the first and possibly the last time I'll have access to a computer, so I thought I'd better write this all down while I can and get to those who should know. I'm leaving town. I don't know where I'm going, I'm just getting as far away as I can. So, as some of you may know, I took out a loan and opened my own auto shop a little over a year ago. Businesses have been going decently well. I can't complain. And I've always been grateful to all of my customers who would come to me exclusively when God knows there are so many already established places in town. I've been doing well enough that I was able to hire on my buddy Neil after a few months ago, and he's been working hard and helping out really well, as I always knew he would. Well, I needed to take a day and go to LeMay's class with Rebecca last month, and so I entrusted the shop to Neil for the morning and most of the afternoon. That's the day I think everything actually started, because when I got back, he seemed to be in a how do you say that one?
A stupor.
A
You were right.
A stupor, and was covered in oil. He even had some smeared across his face, as if he tried to drink it or something. I told him to go home and clean himself up because we had no clients at the moment and I could take care of anyone who came in for the time being.
What? Drinking oil.
Like,
I'm assuming that's like Zalgo taking him over or some shit, but like the idea that like you're like, hey bro, I got this repair shop. Can you? Is it a repair shop? Apparently, yeah, an auto shop. It's like, hey, can you help me with this auto shop? And you leave him there. You just leave him there for a bit, and then you come back and you see he's drink. And you're like, did you what?
My immediate thought was that he had like a oil mustache instead of a milk mustache.
Dude, I imagine it kind of like when you like are just like chugging something and it spills. I imagine it just like all over like his face, like a goatee type of shade.
Didn't even clean it or anything.
He like tried to wipe it off and it just smeared.
Oh my god. It's nasty.
Oh god.
He came back 45 minutes later, but he was still much quieter than usual. He worked as well as he ever did, but something just seemed off about him. I asked him if anything happened while I was out, and he just shook his head. I asked how many clients we had, and he just muttered something unintelligible.
You're gay.
I asked him to repeat himself, and he turned and glared at me for the briefest moment, and I could have swore his eyes appeared to be completely black. No iris, no sclera. Just utter all-consuming blackness. I stumbled back and bumped into a shelf, knocking things down. When I looked back at him, he was still looking at me, but he didn't seem to be glaring hatefully the way he had before. He just seemed kind of out of it.
So, this one does the opposite of a lot of creepypastas. Instead of hyper-realistic eyes, it's just black.
I think that's better. I think
that's so much better, because the hyper-realistic eyes it just sounds corny. It sounds like you went in a Photoshop and just like take out your eyes, right, in Photoshop, not in real life. Spoon. Anyways, and you just like slap them on a character.
I think that's the intended like weirdness of it, because usually it's used in like lost media things to be as a
scary, but it's
well, not
shit.
Scary, but I mean, yes, scary obviously, but like I think the intention is that it's supposed to be jarring, that there is a piece of reality into something that is cartoonish, which is why I think it doesn't work whenever you do something in reality, like in this one, because what would hyper realistic eyes be for just a person? That'd just be normal eyes.
I was gonna say, I mean, you kind of did that shit in the creepypasta system with D&D.
But in that one, it wasn't the fact that they were like. I think I should have worded it better. But I think the better term is that it looked like they were not their own eyes, but someone else's, some other higher being's eyes placed on top of someone who, like if
they didn't look human. Yeah, basically,
like
that probably would have been better.
Yeah, like if a third dimensional being had fourth dimensional eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but like. But also, like, the hyper-realistic eye thing is such it's a trope that's not done well, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's that thing of, because a lot of times it's like, ooh, there's all this spooky stuff, and then hyper-realistic eyes, and it's like, that's the least scary thing, because you just got told, like, oh yeah, there's, like, a dead body that got seen, like, a couple scenes ago, so, like, then when you go to that, it's like, okay, well, now you're just, instead of upping the ante, you're just going down with the ante.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do you want me to read the dialogue?
Yes.
Okay. Just a couple.
He answered.
Some woman and then a tattooed biker type looking dude.
I assume one of them must have asked for an oil change, and that's when he spilled it.
Or drank it.
Yeah. So I asked if he had any trouble, and he simply shrugged. I had looked around the garage while he was gone, and I saw no traces of any oil spill.
Sorry. No, I'm thinking back at him drinking the oil. I'm just thinking of the photo of the grandpa who ate paint thinking it was yogurt. But like it's this dude with the oil all over his face.
I looked around the garage while he was gone and I saw no traces of an oil spill. So, whatever had happened, he must have gotten it all on himself and none of it anywhere else, miraculously. But he seemed reluctant to talk about it, so I didn't press the issue. And we worked throughout the day. That day, and the next, were relatively normal, other than him still being awkward and quiet. I asked him if he'd like to go out and get some lunch and while I tended the shop, and he said,
Sure.
When he came back, I was busy doing a diagnostic for a client, so he put the food on the counter in an office to wait for me and went ahead and ate.
I feel like you're getting quieter. Is that just me?
I don't know. I finished up with that customer. We'd have to keep his car overnight to figure out why it just kept dying on her, so I asked Neil to give her a ride home, and then I went to grab my food. He'd brought me some Chinese food and iced tea, so I opened up the soy sauce packets to pour some over my food when I noticed the strangest thing. It was as if the soy sauce was out of a living thing somehow. Or was a living thing somehow, spreading out like dozens of squirming, inky black maggots when it fell into the fried rice and burying itself inside. I took the fork and started to scoop out the rice to look deeper inside, and a small, smoky tendril would rise from the rice occasionally, and then dissipate. I was incredibly hungry at that point, but I was way too creeped out to eat that, so I chucked it and the iced tea in the garbage and decided I'd just wait till I get home that evening to eat something. I prepared my own hands.
Most normal creepypasta protagonist. Because some motherfuckers would be like, but I was so hungry, so I just ate that shit. Like, at least because, like, Sonic.exe is a prime example of, oh, weird things. Oh, Tails got murdered. Let me keep playing.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember if by that point he can't stop. Like, he physically can't or what it is, but still.
I know that in that one that he takes a nap halfway through it.
He does?
I'm pretty sure he takes a nap and then a Sonic plushie appears in his bed.
Oh, yeah. I think that's like the ending or something. Yeah. But, like, literally it starts off with him being like, my friend gave me this DVD and told me to destroy it. I'm gonna play it. The fuck? Nah, that shit going in the that shit going into a landfill. I'm sorry. And anyway, sorry.
So, I'd never in my life seen anything remotely like that, and I couldn't even fathom how I would ask Neil if he'd noticed anything similar. As cold and distant as he's been recently, I assumed he'd just look at me like I was a Looney Tune, so I just shut up about it. That Friday, we went down to the old watering hole as we always do to get some drinks and watch the local bands play. And Neil was just as quiet as distant as he'd been all week. He's not a bad-looking fellow, though, and so despite him not really going out of his way to speak to anyone, a woman went over to where he was sitting and started talking to him. And they ended up leaving together that night.
Zalgo's an STD! That's the metaphor!
Zalgo's in your cock.
Zalgo's in my cum. Black goop coming straight out. I got a tentacle coming out my urethra.
Oh god, does that mean that the soy sauce was cum?
No, it was just the oil he drank earlier. He just scooped it from the like oil pan.
I hate so much.
I know it's not actually oil it's Zalgo's doing, but I just think it's way more funny to think that he drank the oil before he got infected.
He was just thirsty.
Just a little thirsty. He's a little parched.
A little parched.
Alright.
Monday morning, I tried breaking the ice by asking him how his weekend went, and he gave me a nod and muttered, no.
Alright.
And I asked him if he got lucky with that young woman I saw him with. And he gave me the smallest grin, which was quite possibly the first grin I'd seen on his face all week, and said,
it went well.
I didn't pressure him for details. I knew he'd share if he chose to. And his small grin was enough to assure my worries and lend me some hope that he might get back to his old self soon. The day was relatively busy around 3 p.m., so I finally had a spare moment to sit in the office and listen to the radio while I waited on my next client. So there I was, leaning back in my chair with my feet popped at the desk when I spooled around and looked at my bulletin board that sits right behind my head with the manner of clippings stuck to it. I had a few Sunday comic strips, Garfield and Calvin and Hobbies, that I'd read maybe 100 times since I'd opened the store. But that day, something was different. The first panel seemed normal, but in each subsequent panel, inky black tendrils crept out from the edges of the frame and from behind the characters. Blood dripped from the ears and the eyes of something, even their noses, and and in each of those strips, one of the characters would say,
"He comes!" I realized the tendrils were moving ever so slowly, and then each of the characters' heads turned ever so slowly towards me.
"Oh no."
And then I threw myself back away from the bulletin board, sliding over my desk and onto the floor. I ran out into the garage and yelled for Neil. I could not be the only one to see this. To my surprise, he had gone, and so I hesitantly walked back to the office and peered inside. The comics were still corrupted, but they no longer appeared to be moving. I crept over to it and reached out to pluck one of the comics free when I noticed the inky black tendril starting to seep across the page towards where my fingers were at least 3 times as fast as they moved before, and I jerked my hand away. Nothing good could possibly come from letting that blot of ink touch my skin. Of course, I ripped the entire bulletin board down, burned it in a tin trash can out back, and never spoke of it again. That night I went home and my wife was already in bed, fast asleep. My mind was racing and I couldn't even bring myself to eat dinner that night. With no one to vent my worries to, I fell into restless sleep and kept awaking to nightmare after nightmare seemingly every hour of the night until I gave up on sleep entirely. That Friday I went to the bar again, even though my wife couldn't drink, being pregnant and all. And Neil wasn't really any fun to hang with anymore, and none of my other friends could seem to be reached. I just needed to get a good buzz and I'd start feeling better, I reckoned. After downing a couple beers, I excused myself to the bathroom when I noticed I was more inebriated than I had estimated. So I leaned over the sink to splash some water on my face, and that's when I heard it. Like a sheet of fabric being dragged across a floor, a voice rasped ever so quietly out of the drain. It sounded like a prolonged exhale for the longest time until I finally recognized words hidden amongst all those vowels. Cracks appeared in the porcelain, sneaking out from the ring around the drain. At least, they looked like cracks at first, but after a few seconds, I recognized them as the same tendrils of corruption I had seen in the comics earlier that week, sneaking their way slowly along. Is this just Emmedeed? This is just the OG Emmedeed. Sorry, that's a D&D god that is a form of it's corruption?
Like virus things.
Virus corruption type of thing, right? Similar to this.
Also, you should totally go check out Infected Perceptions at the Haunted Gardens, link down in the description below. I play as a D&D player in that, and Lilac DMs, and it's very good, it's very fun. Check out the description for the link to the YouTube channel, and yeah, the segment over, I guess.
I recognized them as the same tendrils of corruption I'd seen in the comic earlier that week, snaking their way slowly along. I stumbled backwards out of the bathroom door and right into someone's chest. I turned around and stared into the pitch-black eyes of a 6.5-foot biker with tattoos covering every piece of exposed skin besides his hands and head. So do you think he got infected by the biker that came in for the oil change? I think that's what happened to Neil, yeah. That's what it seems like. Where was I? I stumbled quickly away from him, and his evil, piercing gaze followed me as I retreated through the bar. It felt like a dream, where whenever you're running for your life, it feels like running through quicksand. As I walked across the room, I noticed the biker wasn't the only one staring at me. It seemed every pair of eyes in this place were focused on me, and more than half of those eyes appeared to be perfectly black with no hint of iris or sclera. A few lips moved, and though I couldn't hear their voices over the sound of the jukebox, I could easily guess what they were saying.
He comes.
I didn't get a wink of sleep that night. I haven't been getting much sleep for the past couple weeks, as a matter of fact, which I'm guessing those of you who've spoken to me recently could have guessed. I keep seeing those pitch-black eyes staring at me. I'm afraid everyone I see will turn and whisper those words at me, staring deep into my soul with that evil glare. Every time I go out near a sink or go to grab a bite to eat, I'm afraid I'll see those inky, snaking tendrils squiggling towards me. Even my wife seemed cold and distant lately. Then tonight, as I'm driving home from work, I'm struggling to keep my eyes open so I don't drift into oncoming traffic. My cell phone rang, and it was Rebecca. She was on her way to the hospital to have her baby, and for the first time in 2 weeks, I was actually happy. She gives birth to Zalgo. It's like, here's your demon baby.
The baby.
The baby. She was in the labor room, strapped to a monitor when I got there, watching for her contractions. She barely noticed when I walked in, but didn't seem startled when I sat down beside her and took her hand in mine. I tried talking to her, but she was unresponsive, and I was so tired I didn't even realize I had started to drift off to sleep until the nurse came in and started moving her to the delivery room about a half hour later. I put on my scrubs and a hairnet and went in with her to hold her hand and coach her through like they'd train us in La Maze when she started cursing and screaming. I was prepared for that, as well as her ever-tightening grip on my hand. But when I saw the movement in her tummy, my mind started to reel. The doctor said the baby was crowning and told her to push. I echoed his orders, and she screamed at me with a voice I couldn't begin to describe. When I looked down at her, she was staring up at me with those same eyes I'd seen on the biker, the same eyes I thought I'd seen on Neil weeks before. I tried to jerk my hand away, but she maintained her grip. Black, tar-like blood splashed the front of the doctor's scrubs. He seemed to pay no heed. When I looked at her tummy again, black veins seemed to stand out beneath her skin, pulsating. She continued to stare at me, and she was no longer screaming, just grinning, those obsidian eyes boring into me.
To evoke the Nezabarid and hive mind of chaos,
she breathed in a raspy voice.
He who waits behind the wall.
The doctor continued as he stared down at the child, my child, lying silently, cradled in his blood-stained hands. He looked up and raised the baby, and appeared to be covered in oozing, inky black liquid, much like that had covered Neil a couple weeks prior. It did not cry out, but it was alive, and it moved when he held it up, and when its eyes opened, they were as black as my wife's, as black as the doctor's. In unison, they all breathed his name.
Zalgo.
I ripped my hand free from my wife's iron grip and stumbled out of the room, barely into the nurses passing in the corridor just outside. When I stood up and looked back at the room, I could see the inky black tendrils seeming to extend from the doctor and my newborn across the floor to where I stood. I turned and ran down the hall to the elevator and slammed my finger into the buttons. When I looked back, the tendrils had come into the hallway, yet no one else seemed to notice until it slithered over their feet and up their legs, at which point they abruptly stopped, turned, and looked at me with those same obsidian eyes. So, I wonder if... Because, like, obviously it's like no one else is reacting. And it's like, what if we get to the end of this and it's just like, yeah, I found I had a gas leak in my house, and that's why I was seeing all this weird shit. So everybody's perfectly normal, and you just see this guy tweaking, and I think it's, like, that idea of that is really funny to me. Because they aren't attacking him. They're just staring at him. So do you think they're staring at him not because it's, like, a Zalgo taking over and trying to scare him, but more like they're like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Maybe.
They're like, why is he tripping? Do we need to put him in the psych ward? Like, I think that, like, those nurses are just like, the fuck?
Tripping, stumbling.
Oh! Okay. I abandoned my effort to call the elevator and broke into a panicked run for the stairs. I ran down the 15 flights of stairs all the way to the lobby, tore ass out into the parking lot, hopped into my car and started driving. I didn't know where the fuck I was going. I just had to get the fuck away from there. I don't know if I'm going crazy. It certainly seemed like it, but I just can't be around anyone I know anymore. They all have those same eyes and those same dead stares, and even my child. Oh god, my baby! I still saw those eyes staring at me from the cars beside me, and by some strange coincidence, the same biker from the previous Friday night at the bar pulled up beside me an hour away from the hospital and followed me for nearly 2 miles. He turned and stared at me, grinning. I couldn't see his eyes through his sunglasses this time, but I knew it was the same guy. His tattoos seemed to move of their own free will. The flaming skull on his right bicep began bleeding from its eye sockets. As soon as I could, I slammed onto the brakes, allowing him to fly past me as I swerved to my left and did a U-turn. I think I lost him. That was about an hour ago. I'm at a motel 3 hours out of town. The first place I found that had Wi-Fi, and I'm tired, and I'm shaking, and my hands itches where my wife's nails scratched me open. Oh no. Brr, brr, brr. He's gonna die. Yeah, open wound. Oh, yeah, you're dead.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what to do or what I can, or who I can turn to. The story will sound insane and I'll probably be institutionalized, and I'm not sure that wouldn't be the best thing for me, but I just can't bear to look into those eyes anymore. Every time I see someone new and they stare at me, I start to panic because I just know it's out there looking for me, whatever it is. And even when I lay down and start to drift to sleep, I hear those words. He comes. Yeah. And that is the end of He Comes. I think this one was fun. You know, I hope you enjoyed our Lunar Tales.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you know, follow, read, not read, but follow and listen and have fun.
Yeah.
Wait, one of these is titled, sorry, we're looking through some of the creepypastas. If you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me.
I've read that, or I've listened to that one. It's really
Make
good.
it a headshot. What the fuck? Can we read that one? Because I'm curious.
We'll read that one next, yeah?
Yeah.
I'll send you.
Anyways, yeah, how long? It's 70 minutes of reading? Oh, it's like paranoia and mental illness stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're gonna end the episode for there. If you enjoyed listening, make sure to follow and listen along with us. And with that being said, we will see y'all in the next reading. Bye!
Bye-bye.
And now enjoy these bloopers.
Brian!
Brian! You do that really well. I think it's the only thing you can say in Stewie voice, though. Brian.
Brian. I sat staring in astonishment for a moment.
Sorry, I heard the waver in your voice and I couldn't hold it back.
Oh.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
Okay. Whew. Scene.
I sat staring in astonishment for a moment before I realized the tendrils were moving ever
Do
so
I need to read this?
No, I got it.
I can take over. It's okay.
And then eat. Okay, you can do it, yeah.
I sat staring in astonishment for a moment before I realized the tendrils were moving ever so... Sorry, she's over here dying in the corner. It's killing me.
I'm trying not to.
I realized the tendrils were moving ever so slowly, and then each of the characters' heads turned ever so slowly.
Why are you laughing now?